The Nintendo Direct thing happened yesterday, and I was super excited for everything. A video should be going up before you see this one, which is essentially going to be talking about how I was super excited for all the games that were announced. The new FromSoft game, oh my god, right? I was just going crazy. I was going crazy over that FromSoft thing, bro. That shit was just beautiful. The Donkey Kong game looks good. We're getting GameCube on the Switch too. Mario Kart looked amazing. What else? Kirby Air Riders, and just even the idea that a lot of these games right now that have been running on systems recently are gonna be able to get a little bit more shine on the Switch, since, you know, they've kind of fell back since the original Switch isn't as powerful as the new one will be. Then the prices drop. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought it was kind of a little bit strange how during the presentation they didn't say anything about any prices on anything, like that the game prices were changing, that the Switch price would be a certain price. It's almost as if they gave us so much good shit in that Direct, they didn't want it to be downvoted to hell because of just the price, which is smart if we're thinking company wise, but you know, they knew what they were doing. Which leads me to the talk about the prices. So as far as the system goes, $450 for the standard Switch, $500 for the pack-in Mario Kart version. It's not too bad. It doesn't sound like a bad deal on paper when you first hear about it. You know, $50 is about the 50, 60, 70 is around the price of what games are now. So, you know, added into the package, you're getting a little bit of a sale deal. That's how most bundles work now, right? And $450 for just the console price itself is not bad. I think a lot of people were expecting around $400. 50 extra is, it could be better, but it could be worse. It could be a worse number. It could be a revolting number, but it's not. It's not. So with that being said, that gets me to the talk about the games. Because if you remember, as I just said, the Switch 2 has two versions, the $450 version or the $500 version that has Mario Kart. But if you decide to purchase Mario Kart outside of the Switch, that game alone cost $80, $79.99. I think it's $90 physical, or that just might be in European stores. What? What are you talking about? That's not a real number. That's not a real video game number. Now, people like to harken back to the days of, like, oh my god, NES, and you know, the old photo prints of what games used to cost back in the day. And now, I wasn't around then, so I didn't have the luxury of purchasing, I guess, games at that price and that time frame to understand, you know, to have any semblance of relation to the two, to be like, oh, well, this was like this back then, right? But I believe the idea was that they were made on carts, which was a lot harder to put the stuff on, which is why certain games were certain prices, and they differed in range, and some were higher, because physical game cartridges were harder to make versus disc CDs and the technology used to be put into them. I could be wrong, but I could have swore that's why that was like that. Especially why it was like with arcade games, if they went to a console like the NES or SNES, they cost a little bit more because arcades were still premium, the best version of the game you could get. So there was still a way to get a better version of that game, and we're just trying to give you something. So, you know, we did our best to package this big ass arcade game into this small ass thing. That's why it costs a hunk of change. Those things I kind of understand. The thing that scares me with this is that if Mario Kart is $80 and it sells well because people are buying the Switch bundle, will Nintendo then go, okay, people are buying $80 games? Because that's not necessarily what's happening, right? That's not wholeheartedly what's going on at the moment. People are buying the bundle, and you know, but they're gonna count the game sales with the bundle, just like Mario 64 was counted, that it was, you know, since it was bundled with N64s. Which leads me to, is Nintendo gonna be like, oh well, let's see if we make our other big premium games $80. I think the Donkey Kong game is $69.99 regular game price, but when Mario comes out, is Mario, you know, when their next game that's not Breath of the Wild, but it's their next Zelda comes out, Smash Brothers, if they do another one, we don't know. No one knows what that pricing is. So there's just a lot of things that are not really ticking the boxes for me, which is to say that I will still be putting my pre-order in next week, Wednesday, the day that they're available, and we most likely be in line the night it launches. But there's just a couple things that are like, you know, scaring me about the future of video gaming, especially after this Nintendo Direct. As equally enthused as I was about everything and bright on the future of what video games, especially Nintendo video games, are gonna do, bro. $80 games from Nintendo is just telling Take-Two and Grand Theft Auto, hey bro, $99.99 this thing. Go ahead and put 99 on there and then put a 99 right behind that. Because you know what's gonna happen? People are gonna buy it in droves. It'll be $100, base game, be the highest grossing video game of all time. And then that's when studios start making mistakes, right? Because what's gonna happen is another studio, like they always do, be like, we want our next this, right? Fortnite does a crazy thing, we want our next Fortnite. Let's start working on that. Grand Theft Auto does a thing, we want our next Grand Theft Auto. Let's start working on that. Doesn't have to be Grand Theft Auto in concept or design, I mean in pricing. Hey, them boys paid $80 for their premium package game. We feel like this game that we're working on is a complete package that's gonna be big and bold and brash. Put $100 on that price tag. The moment it's gonna fuck up is when people don't show up and they start voting with their wallets. But we live in a society where no one does that. We live in a society where no one goddamn votes with their wallet anymore. If it's compelling, they're gonna purchase it. And I mean, it's hard to complain. I understand why that is. We are in the social media era, which means that this big game with all these fun things comes out, and you go to scroll on your Twitter and you're already seeing 300 people playing it and explaining how fun it is and how it's the greatest thing they've ever played. And it's kind of this FOMO that's, you know, back in the day, it was like, damn, unless you're hearing about how good it is from people you're at, you know, school with, or people just you're around, or the commercials are telling you that all these people are loving the game, then you really don't have this big focus group to be like, the game's amazing. Now social media, you're just scrolling through and seeing like, oh my God, bro, this gameplay looks good and the game's out and I don't have it. So people are gonna spend the money on these things, which is just gonna lead to these prices increasing. And when does it end? I recently even had a friend of mine that says that they don't know if they're gonna keep, you know, buying games as frequently as they used to when the game prices go up because they can't afford it. Makes sense. I just don't want to see this thing that I love turn into a luxury, bro. I think I saw somebody post that this needs to be something that is a medium that people can enjoy, that they've been enjoying for years. Video games is art. You know, the creations in them are art. Some of the greatest stories ever are told in video games. Some of the greatest moments are spent in video games. A lot of people have a history with these things. People have made boatloads of money on video games, so that, you know, age-old adage that they're just time-wasting brain rotters is dead. I just don't want it to become something that we can't even afford. I know that there's a whole bunch of government political stuff that is probably leading to a lot of these pricing changes. We're not gonna get into any of that. I just want to say, bro, I don't know what's going on with video games, but as long as I can, man, I'm gonna keep playing them, keep enjoying them. And while Nintendo gave me a lot of great things in that Direct, like I said, the FromSoft game blew me away. Donkey Kong, all these games look amazing. I am just afraid that every game that comes out for the Switch is gonna be like $90, $80. Somebody made a joke that is like, yeah, now when Switch games go on sale, they're gonna be $60, $70, like a full price game, which is gonna be true.